So in this video, we're going to look at a different strategy of editing photos in the layers panel in Photoshop. So with the last lecture, we learned how to create a new layer by simply clicking on the Create New Layer icon. And this is really flexible, but it creates transparency. And because of that, we're not able to actually try out different versions of our document or our image that we would want to experiment with, in other words. So to actually make a layer that is the same as your photograph, you simply click and drag the layer down to the new layer icon. And you can see I just clicked on that background layer to the new layer icon and let go, and all of a sudden I have a background copy. So here, if I wanted to change this to black and white, I can. Here I just renamed that layer black and white, and I'm going to go up to the application bar and go to Image, Adjustments, and then black and white here. And now we can see that this image has turned black and white, and we could edit it in the actual black and white dialog box that comes up. And I like this option, and we can kind of get different effects and with different channels of color using that spectrum underneath the image to actually bring out certain things in the image. So I'm making a first pass at this, and I think that's pretty good. Can also select part of the image and see where it is so that I could affect it more. So now I could say OK. Now what's interesting about the layers panel is that there is a hierarchy, and think of it as a layer cake. Here I have a background, which is here, and that is in full color. You can kind of see that by the icon next to the background. And now I have the black and white layer, and you can see that that is actually black and white. If I turn off the visibility here, you can see that the color image is actually just underneath. So let's do another version of our photograph here. I'm just going to make another copy of the background here, and then I could actually move this on top of the black and white layer, and notice that this background copy is now on top of the black and white layer, which is on top of the background layer. I'm just going to turn this to oil painting here, and we're going to have a little fun with some filters here. I'm going to go up to the filter application bar, and I'm going to select a filter here that will give us a bit of an effect. So here I'll go to Filter, Stylize, and then Oil Paint. And so here we have the oil paint filter going on, and it's a pretty goofy filter if you ask me, but you can change the way that this looks. It adds a little bit of embossing to the image, and it makes it look like it would be an oil painting. So it is pretty silly. Let's just change the lighting here and the shine. Oh, that's pretty bright. Really glossy surface. So turning on and off that, I'll just hit OK. Now you can see that our image doesn't really look like an oil painting, but it does have this really goofy filter on top of it. So looking at this, you can see that the visibility here is turned on. It's the topmost layer, If we turn that off, we see the black and white layer. If we turn that off, we see the background layer. So we can save this file out in a number of different versions just by saving it as the black and white version, or for example, saving it as the oil painting version. If I turn all the layers off, you can see that Photoshop has a way of denoting transparency. And if you ever see a gray and white checkerboard, that is nothing. That is null in Photoshop. It's transparency. So it is no information whatsoever. And here I can select the black and white version again and turn that layer on. So this is where the flexibility of the layers panel actually comes into play, and you'll be learning all about how to actually organize the layers panel to create a lot of different effects and techniques with the layers panel, and this is just the beginning.